afternoon. I'm here, Ephraim Nyirenda, your host on our page, Youth Issue Magazine. And I must say we're very much excited because today is a very wonderful day because I'm here hosting the main man of Deliverance Center Church of Christ, Bishop Jack Makabakano. And this couldn't be a better opportunity for us, and we're so excited because we get to know and find out in depth of the life of our leader, our father, a man that is so passionate about the church and most especially the youths. And it being a prayer and fasting, this couldn't be have been a better time to host our bishop. Bishop.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. A lot of people might not know you by name, so I'll start off by asking you to introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Jack Axon Makabakano. I am the third born in my family, second last for that matter, and I'm glad to be on this program.
Wonderful. Bishop, just a recap on your life. Where were you born?
Well, since everyone talks about where you were born, I was born in Karurushi. My father used to work for mines some years back, and soon after my parents, I think, we went to the village because he stopped working. So I lived my first 2 years after knowing what life is in the village. Then I came back into town around 60s with my father again up until 1971, up to 1975. I was again in the village because 1971 my father died, and up to 1975 when I finished my grade 7, I was in the village. So those 4 years I spent them in the village. The rest of life I've spent it in town.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for us here at Deliverance Center, we've been privileged to know a bit of your story of how your growing up was when you used to wear those magambas, as you love to put it. Just for somebody that doesn't pray with us, what are the challenges that you faced growing up as a youth?
Yeah, well, my father wasn't a well-to-do man, but he was able to manage a family. And at one point when he left job, we became so much in need and we lacked a lot. And no clothes, no nothing. And in those days I remember that we would put on a short for 1 year, you know, and you can imagine 1 year putting on one short, okay? And those were very, very, very hard days. Up until late 60s when he got a job and we began to live well again. And that time I was around maybe, I would say 10, 11 years old. Yeah, so which days were actually short-lived, because when he started working, he only worked for 2 years, he passed on. And we are back to the same situation where you are always in need. And you know, when my father died, we went to the village, then I was under custody of many different people. You live with this one for 1 year, maybe for 6 months, others for 3 months, and he passes you to another person. And during those times were the hardest times of my life, where sometimes even food was not easy to find. And I remember those years we used to eat once a day. Once you miss that once, it means you eat once in 2 days. So it was hard, it wasn't easy. Even when I was at school, in my primary school education, we were walking 12 kilometers every morning. 12 kilometers going, 12 kilometers coming back. So a week was like 1 year. It was torturous. You can imagine, you are hungry and you are walking a long distance. It wasn't easy to survive. But here we are today.
Wow. And how just did you handle those moments? Because I'm sure for an ordinary youth going through such hard times, I think a lot of us have broken down and say, I just want to give up. How did you handle those moments?
Yeah, the way I handled those moments, what I would say is that I would thank God, because it was those hardship of those days that made me to want to know God. Because my question was, if there is a God, why did he allow my father to die? And if there is a God, does he know, or does he hear prayer, or does he see people who suffer? Because they say God is all-knowing. And those questions were probing questions sometimes where I would spend, instead of sleeping the whole night, I would be crying the whole night. You know, because you want to find an answer to a very pestering question. Where is God in this whole situation?
Is that to mean by that time you were going through all those kind of hardships, you were not yet a Christian?
I was not a Christian by then. I was not a Christian. And that question of asking, where is God? Because, you know, I remember sitting under one of my aunties who was keeping me. One day, she told me a very, very hard statement to say, can you climb a tree and see where your father went? That tortured me for years. That word alone up to now, I've not forgotten it. And I remember staying 3 days without eating because I boycotted eating. I boycotted moving out. I was just locked up in a small house. And I became weak to such an extent that I failed to lift even my hand. You know, and someone came and fed me with porridge. That's how I recovered. So it was not easy. That time it was not easy. But that question still was going on in me. Where is God? If God is there, why can't he hear? Why can't he see what I'm going through? And sometimes I would think maybe, I wish I had a way of going to where my father went. Because then my mother was also under a lot of pressure by the relatives of my father. You know, old culture, where when a husband dies, they have to take you through a process of rituals. And some of them were not very favorable. She was also under massive pressure. When I think of my mother crying, and I'm also crying, then that made that question more and more questionable. Where is God? So I was not a Christian up until 1976.
That's a long time.
Yeah, 1976. When I finished my grade 7, I decided to visit my elder brother here in Lusaka. I stayed with him just a week. The following week, he invited us to go to church, and one lady in our church, in that church, was bidding farewell because she was going back to Malawi, where the parents came from. And she was bidding farewell because she was not staying well with her sister-in-law. She was equally also tormented and troubled. So when she was, yeah, just as I was.
Yeah.
So when she was bidding farewell, she touched some of the things she was going through, and you know, the whole church was weeping. And when she mentioned a word to say, look, I am going, some of you, we may not see each other until we meet in heaven. I said, where is heaven? I wish to go there too. Because everyone else was sobbing because they are separating. And some of them said, truly, we shall meet again. So that made me that day to give my life to Christ.
So that was the process, the beginning of your turning point to...
Yeah, that was my turning
the
point.
Christian...
That was my turning point. In fact, she sang a song. There's a song in Chewa where it says Chiembekezo Changa Chuchamangidwa Pamwazi. You know, my hope is built on the blood of Jesus. And before this, the hymn book was ending, everyone was weeping, sobbing. And then I said, I don't have hope. But all these people have hope. You know, and that was my turning point. I gave my life to Christ. In fact, even when the preacher came to preach, he was preaching, I was already converted. I was just waiting for time to give my life to Christ. And funny enough, the very day I was baptized, you know, soon after giving my life to Christ, the missionary provided transport to go to the farm, and I was baptized in the swimming pool.
And this all happened in Lusaka?
In Lusaka, at Matero Church of Christ.
Wow. Now, Bishop, one thing I would love to find out from you is, having been a Christian for quite a long time, and seeing people come in the church, seeing people come to Christ, seeing people go back, fallen, but you're still standing here. Before we even get to how you got to be a bishop and how you got to be where you are as a Christian, what does Christ mean to you as an individual?
Christ means everything. You know, when I received Christ, somehow I found comfort. Somehow the question, though it was not verbally answered, where is God? It was completely answered. Because that time now, when I gave my life to Christ, when I pray, I feel peace. I was more at peace.
Back to our story where you got to bishop. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah, I led as an elder of this church for over almost 9 years. Single elder. Until I appointed 2 other elders. One of them is Elder Siame. And the other one was the one who left us. And from there, I became the General Secretary of Haggai Institute Alumni Association of Zambia.
Wow.
And because of that program, I started traveling and training pastors with that group, because I was a General Secretary. So those people were specialized to train leaders, key leaders. And some of them went abroad. And so I served in that group for about 7 years as a General Secretary. So that exposed me a lot. It exposed me to the higher level of church leadership. And I did actually some training. The first training was Haggai Institute, where I was training as a key alumni leader. And I was given a certificate. Then from there, I started now knowing what to do. So, when I was supposed to be actually excelling quickly, but because of rejection here at church, I was rejected to be one of the pastors. Instead, it was preferred that we have Pastor Skumba, who was actually coming from Kitwe, and actually whom I discipled myself that very time. But because he went to Kitwe for a job, and then he was in transit to South Africa to go and do a Bible training. When he came here, I didn't know that my colleagues actually, you know, they just secretly sat down, and so I didn't argue. I said, fine, he's a guy that I know who is standing right, because my whole heart was just to save God, not because of any title.
So for you, it wasn't about position?
No.
You don't need position to serve God.
Really, I didn't. It was not my ambition. It has never been my ambition, actually. But I served with him and I think he served from 1977, 97, right to 203.
Yeah.
203.
Because others would have left the position that is
Imagine.
looking promising in my hands and given to somebody else. And a lot of people would think, well, for me to serve right, I need to have a certain position.
In fact, I had a lot of external invitations. I had friends some of whom I was coaching as pastors in the Haggai Institute group that I belonged to. Some of them were succeeding. And I remember one of my friends invited me to go to America and be his assistant, because
wow.
I was one of the person who was actually able to train him here when he was around through the same program I've told you about, Haggai. And I looked at my family. I had already children. Then I was thinking, how can I go to America and leave my family? And I don't even know. Looking at my background of education also, so I said, it's fine. You know, I can't continue. So I had opportunities to go, but my heart was still telling me to remain here at Matero. And I kept on up 2003 when our late pastor passed on.
When you look back at your journey at this church, would you regret being here?
Today I can't regret. Sometimes I used to feel I could have been better somewhere else. Yeah, but today when I look down, I see the reason why God kept me to be here. Because there are so many people that have emerged from here, whom I have actually had a hand in their lives to stand up. Some of them are prominent preachers today. Some of them are very successful, even academically. Yeah, so I think I've scored some goals.
Yeah, certainly, because it is evident from the people that we see at this church. Great men of God that you are